So the question is could you be able to identify from a stress strain plot what kind of material it is? First thing to say is if the material basically goes up in what seems to be a relatively straight line, you know that is an example of a very brittle material. It means that there's no plasticity to it. If the material is very sharp line up here, so that's this very steep line, that would mean that that material has a high Young's modulus compared to concrete. So concrete, you can see, is actually not very stiff as material. It's relatively easy to pull apart, and also it's quite a brittle material. So it's not a great material if it was trying to pull it apart. The reverse is true. So if you're going to try and compress concrete, it's actually quite difficult to compress. So concrete, when you're designing stuff and you're using concrete, you want it to be under compression and not under tension. Cast iron is, I suppose, the starting point for steel. Steel is basically iron with usually carbon and some other stuff put in it. So you notice that cast iron is not far off in terms of stiffness compared to a mild steel, but it's a very brittle material, and that's what the Victorians were using to make their bridges and their viaducts and piers and whatnot. And unfortunately, cast iron and wrought iron, they're very brittle materials, and those things would tend to break. So modern materials are more based around this sort of mild steel or structural steel components, and they will have a lot more plasticity about them. So that means that they are going, in terms of their profile, they're going up and they're going along quite a long way. So that means that they're quite a resilient material. They can absorb quite a lot of energy and not likely to fracture in a brittle sense. If they are going to fracture, they'll probably fracture in a more of a ductile sense. The good thing about that is it's a bit like you're kind of tearing something apart. You can start to see the tear occur. So that's also good on a structure, because then you can spot something that's a problem. Whereas if you build something out of cast iron and it starts to fracture, it's gone and you will be dead. Not nice. No, you won't. Yeah, no. Okay. And